Okay, guys, there's a book about Moses. Yes, I'm Jewish, but I'm super Christian, but still Jewish. Yes. So there's this one. It's live. So I'm going to read this one. Yes, it's about Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation. Yes. So I'm going to read this one. So introduction. The Sefer, the Sefer Yetzirah is without question the oldest and most mysterious of all Kabbalist texts. The first commentary on this book were written in the 10th century, and the text itself is quoted as early as the 6th. References to the work appears in the 1st century, while the tradition regarding its use attests to its existence even in biblical times. So ancient is this book that its origins are no longer accessible times. So ancient is this book that its origin are not accessible to historians. We are totally dependent on traditions with regards to its authorships. Equally mysterious is the meaning of this book. If the author meant to be obscure, he was eminently successful. It is only through the most careful analysis, studying every word with its parallels in biblical and Talmudic literature, that its haze of obscurity began to be penetrated. There have been many interruptions of the Sefer Yetzirah. The earliest commentaries tried to interrupt it as a philosophical treatise, but their efforts shed more light on their own systems than on the text. The same is true of efforts to fit it into the systems of the Zohar, or later Kabbalists' efforts to view it as a book on grammar or phonetics are even more unsuccessful. In general, the Kabbalist is divided into three categories: the oratorical, the theoretical, the meditative, and the magical. The theoretical Kabbalah, which which in its presence from its base largely on the Zohar, is concerned mostly with the dynamics of the spiritual domain, especially the worlds of the Sefirot, souls, and angels. This branch of Kabbalah reaches its zenith in the writing of the Seafood School in the 16th century, and the vast majority of published texts belong in this category. Meditative Kabbalah deals with the use of divine names later and later permutation and similar methods to reach higher states of consciousness, and as such it comprises a kind of yoga. Most of the main texts have never been published, but remains scattered in the manuscripts in the great libraries and museums. Some of these methods enjoyed a brief renaissance in the mid-1700s with the rise of the Hasidic movement, but within half a century they were once again largely forgotten. So the third category of Kabbalah, the magical, is closely related to the meditative. It consists of various signs, incantation, and divine names through which one can influence or alter natural events. Many of these techniques closely resemble meditative methods, and their success may depend on their ability to induce mental state where telekinetic or spiritual power can effectively be channeled. As with the second category, the most important texts have never been printed, although some fragments have been published. One of the best examples of this is the book Raziel. Careful study indicates that Sefer Yetzirah is a meditative text with a strong magical overtones. This position is supported by the earliest Talmudic traditions, which indicates that it could be used to create living creature. Especially significant are the many reports and legends in which the Sefer Yetzirah is used to create a golem, a sort of mystical android. The method of Sefer Yetzirah appears to involve meditation, and it's highly possible that it was originally written as a meditative manual. A major 12th century philosopher thus states that it does not contain philosophy but divine mysteries. This comes across very clearly in the commentary of one of the greatest Kabbalists, Isaac the Blind, 1160 to 1236, who stressed the meditative aspects of the text. It is also particularly evident in a very ancient manuscript of Sefer Yetzirah dating from the 10th century or earlier. The introductory colophon states, "This is the book. This is the book of the letters of Abraham, our father, which is called Sefer Yetzirah. And when one gazed Tisha into it, there is no limit to his wisdom." Okay, as we shall discuss in our commentary on 1 to 6, or 1 6, the Hebrew word Tisha does not denote mere source, would therefore support the position that Sefer Yetzirah was meant to be as a meditative text. The commentaries which treat Sefer Yetzirah as a theoretical text read much of it in the third person. He combined, he formed, and the like. According to this reading, the text is referring to God's creation. In many cases, however, the grammatical form more closely resembles the imperative. The author is telling the reader to combine and form as he was actually given instruction in many other cases. The text is unambiguously instructive, as in such passages as, "If your heart returns to the place, and understand with wisdom, and the wise with understanding." Rather than have the text escalate between the third person and the imperative, it would certainly be more logical to read it all in imperative. The Sefer Yetzirah thus becomes an instruction manual for every special type of meditation. Out of difference to the majority of commentaries, we have refrained from translating it in imperative, but the implication of such a reading are discussed in the commentary. What we will therefore have in Sefer Yetzirah appears to be an instructional manual describing certain meditative exercise. There is some evidence that these exercises were meant to strengthen the initiated concentration and were particularly helpful in the development of telekinetic and telepathic powers. It was with these powers that one would then be able to perform feats that outwardly appeared to be magical. This is supported by the Talmudical references, which appears to compare the use of Sefer Yetzirah to a kind of white magic. An important 13th century commentator writes that students of Sefer Yetzirah were given a manuscript of the book Raziel, magical text containing seals, magical figures, divine names, and incantation. Okay, that's it. This is for me promoting and at Hollywood. Guys, employ me. I am here. So you like my reading. So employ me at Hollywood. I can be what do you know? I know it's not here. It's not going there. I know it's so employ me at Hollywood because I work there all the time with you guys over there. So why not? Yes, put my image down there. Yes, I just read the book. I'm not illiterate, but this is the real thing, which is literature here? Yes. All right. Thank you. Have a nice day employing me. Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye.